left a hot issue, and that is the absent fathers. Where are they? Well, we know that in our prison system, we are probably maybe 60, 70% of the population are men, young men, and men of age, but various. But what we're talking about, how can we stop this flow of men going into the prisons, pulling them away from their fatherhood and destroying families? Is there an area here that we need to discussion that we can get more understanding about why the absent father? I already mentioned a little bit. And okay, going right back to what I was talking about earlier is an alternative to incarceration. We must have an alternative to incarceration program that will allow that man, that young man, or that older man, or whoever, whatever age, but male, to have a second chance on a first offense. That could be just being in concert. Maybe you're walking around with the wrong group of young fellas or wrong group of men, or maybe an incident happened in the car that you were driving in. Well, you go to jail for that, okay? And you're pulled away from your families. But I believe that there should be an alternative to incarceration. It should be given, that man, that father should be given an opportunity to be remanded into the hands of a structured program, not to demean him, not to clean the streets, not to just, but to be able to overcome that problem. And many of the problems of committing a crime in today is economics. And what are we talking about? Crimes of survival. Now, I've said a little bit more. I know we got the panel is very excited about this area of the absent father, so I'm going to open it up and go to my brother Miguel, and then we're going to go to Mr. Heckman, and finally we're going all the way down to our coach.
Okay, so in revisiting the issue about absent parents or fathers in particular, and how that's been impacted in terms of the household, what we can go back to is the Personal Responsibility Act of 1996, and that focused on the temporary assistance to needy families. And the objective behind that particular adjustment to the law was to get families to transition from welfare to workfare. And in its initial, I guess, birth, it sounded great, and it was a great idea. The objective behind that was by providing transitional opportunities to these families, they would be able to sustain themselves moving forward. And the way they were able to do that is they'll provide them in exchange for their benefits. They would be engaged in some type of educational program or workfare program to transition them off onto the public assistance. Now, what has happened, unfortunately, as a result of that is that what hasn't changed is the guidelines under which that these families are going to be eligible for public assistance. Based on the family composition, 1, 2, 3 family members in a household, if they surpass a certain amount of money, of income in the household, they wouldn't necessarily be entitled to public assistance. So that in and of itself will have a residual impact on the actual family. For example, if you did have a father in the household that was gaining or bringing in a certain level of income, but yet that income perhaps would impact their benefits, chances are that that father may make a decision, or that family may make a decision to no longer want to participate in that household, not to compromise the benefits that that family is entitled to. And that in and of itself is an issue.
And we're talking about legislation and changing legislation. Yeah. All right, we got a caller right now, and we're going to take that call, and then we're going to hear from Mr. Heckman. If you're on the air, go right ahead. All right, while we're waiting for the technology to get in focus, Mr. Heckman, now you mentioned a number of programs that many people aren't even aware of. I didn't know that the Department of Health had an initiative to work with churches, faith-based organizations. Tell us about that, and in that area, how does that program deal with the absent fathers?
Well, I don't think it deals directly with absent fathers, sadly, but that program, to back it up, it started during the Bush administration, and the idea was to say what we need to do is level the playing field, and those were the terms they used often. And when you're talking about applying for and receiving federal grant money, there was this conception that if you were a faith-based organization, you couldn't apply for or receive any federal, any government money. And what they wanted to do was to level the playing field and to say, no, you can apply. Obviously, there are First Amendment issues where you need to have a separation in space or program. If you want to have a food kitchen and you want to apply for federal funds, you can do that as long as you're doing the food kitchen. You're not requiring anyone to participate in a religious service and things like that. But there was a very proactive approach by the administration that said we want to level this, and when we want to recognize and encourage the work that faith-based institutions are doing across the nation. And the Obama administration took that, I think, and took it to another level. And they said, not only do we want to encourage this work, but we want to really listen to the faith community. We want to see what they're saying and use that then to shape the way that we do policy. So, and I know you have a call to take.
Yeah, we got a call coming in.
So I'll finish by saying, so that there was a council of 25 members, faith leaders from across the country, and they recently just submitted a list of recommendations to the president. And among those recommendations was a set of recommendations on fatherhood and families. So this is an example of listening and
this
using
is great.
that.
We got a caller, and then we're going to well, we can keep on talking. I think we either lost that caller or is that caller still on the line? All right. I'm glad that the government is realizing that the faith-based organizations have solutions, because we do have solutions.
Absolutely.
And this is where I was talking about the Alternative to Incarceration program was in '82, and we did it as a demonstration program, and we asked the courts to give the option of a person coming before the judge, let them come before a panel of clergy. And if they prove to us that they deserve the second chance, they were remanded into our hands. We got 500 cases that were turned over to us. At the end of the year, only 20 of them committed a second crime. They got their records back. They were able to come back to their families. Now, the problem was Koch administration did not want to accept it. He said, because if this program works, then the prison system would lose money. So, okay, so this is crazy stuff. But he said, I can't give you any funds, even though it worked. And we saved the government a lot of money because this person did not have to go to jail. So we saved the government in 1 year for each person is about $200,000. That's what we pay to house and to take care of an inmate. That's unbelievable. We could turn that into a rehabilitation program. We can give it to church-based program to have alternative incarceration. We can do a lot of things with the money that we're paying, not to rehabilitate men, but to house them. Because most times when they go in on a minor crime, they learn from the others who are hard criminals how to be a better criminal. So when they come out and they can't get a job because they have a criminal record, they now are institutionalized, or they are now programmed to commit a crime because now we got them in a cycle. And so we're talking about legislation, we're talking about faith-based, what the church could do. I certainly wish I was with that panel of clergy. And I'm going to look to get connected with them thanks for the information we're getting from you. Well, Coach, what do you have to say? I know you're over there saying, let me in on this.
No,
okay.
All of these suggestions, of course, are valid, and we're working very hard. The president, many coalitions across the country now are working on dealing with that issue of absent fathers. But I'm going to come from the coach's point of view. I don't want any excuses. There is no reason, absolutely positively no reason, why the majority of our fathers, particularly in our family, have left. There is no reason, no money, no time, none of that has anything to do with you showing love, respect, honor for your children.
Exactly.
The reasons being, we could talk all day about them. All these excuses, as I said before, but the bottom line is, because this has reached epidemic proportions, we cannot wait for these other things to happen. Excellent. We cannot wait for pieces of legislation. We can't wait for the clouds to part. We just got to do it ourselves as a family.
Good.
And the bottom line is, get it together. Your family is everything. Your family is the only thing, the best thing that ever happened to these young men. And they ask nothing of you. They ask if you got a record, none of those things. Just, can you give me some love? Can you talk to me? Can you give me some guidance? And until such time, and we are going to get to that point,
Right.
that our young men can say, listen, this is what I want to do regardless. We're still going to be in this boat.
Coach, I hear you clearly, and I believe there's some fathers that
Our
hear you
fathers
very
hear
clearly
good,
out there.
that's right.
And you're calling them to be accountable.
That's it.
right, and that is number one.
That's it.
Okay? All the other supports will come, but accountability is number one. All right, we have a caller.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, yes, go right ahead.
Yes, this is for Coach Lynn. For organizations like yours, Dare to Dream, we know that working with other organizations in the community will always, work out well with using all the resources of the community to get it done. How can you work with other organizations to make this fatherhood movement a strong movement in the community?
Well, Dr. Burkett, Dare to Dream is the vehicle. Bottom line, we are here, the television show and the training piece that we've put together is to highlight, empower, and develop resources for others, such as the non-for-profits. We've decided that we were going to attack this beast at its core, the media. As we all know, it's had a real impact on the situation that we have now, the images that are on media. So that's really what Dare to Dream is about, really highlighting as the positive things, the blessings that you get out of Father. And really, that's what we're about. Putting all of the resources and pulling our team together. Quite frankly, that's what we do. We're putting this team together. And that's what we're here for, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Coach, for that. We have another caller?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
This is Bernard Skelton from Friends of Island Academy, and we're a nonprofit agency that helps youth, especially ages 16 to 21, as far as males and young females, but we also work with young fathers between the ages of 16 and 24, as well as older fathers at Friends to Fathers in the Bronx. And one of the things we have noticed in our community is basically that a lot of times there are fathers or uncles or other family members, elder, that have already been incarcerated or are incarcerated, and the youth following the footsteps because there's nobody to teach them, like, that's not cool, that's not what's going to help you succeed in life. And those people that can help them and can make a difference in their life as far as getting them to go down the right path are taken away from them and disenfranchised from them. And the thing that we try to do with our young fathers here at Friends of Island Academy is we try to help them engage with their children, with the mother, with other family members that may have input or have something to do with the upbringing of their child, and try to get them to understand that you're not always going to see eye to eye, you're not going to always understand why things are not going the way you always want them, but your kid needs you, and no matter what you're going through with the mother, you have to stay strong and persevere. But at the same time, sometimes, you can't tell the fathers, you cannot put yourself in a situation where you're about to lose yourself. Sometimes you have to take a step back in order to go 2 steps forward.
Okay.
And these are some of the things we teach. It's more with our kids, it's more about just...
Okay, we thank you for that. We have more callers coming in, and we've got exactly your sentiment and your feelings about that, and you're right on target.
Thank you.
They need the support, but as Coach says, they have to step up to the plate and realize that I am a father, and all these supports are there, but they got to realize that. I want to thank you for calling in, okay? Also, we want to mention something as where the church stands, and I feel that it's time for fathers to bring a faith understanding or God presence in your homes. It's time for your fathers to begin to realize that getting up on Sunday and getting your family together and taking them to church is one of the beginnings, or not the beginnings, it's the soul of really the family staying together. Stress is on your family, a lot of things that you need, and then you need the community of the church to come around you and to work with the wife and issues, and work with the husband and the children. These are extremely important. Our faith is what has got us here, and our trusting in God is the only thing that's going to really keep our families together. And so the church played a role in the beginning, still plays a role. And I thank God for the administration that's realizing that the faith-based organizations who have been doing it all the time. We have counseling for families ongoing 24/7. And now, of course, the government can give us the additional funding that we can expand these well-meaning programs. And I feel that fathers should take advantage of it and get your family together and bring them to church. God bless you.
Amen.
All right.
That's true.
All right, any other callers? We're going to go back. It got sort of quiet when I mentioned church. I don't know what's going on.
That's it, though. That's the mainstay.
Yeah.
Without that,
right.
We have to have a base now.
Yeah.
As we go out into war, and we were talking earlier, this is a battle.
Yeah.
This is a war that we're going on.
Sure.
We have to strategize in that way. Nothing like the church.
Yeah.
Where you can go in times of when we're possibly losing the war.
Yeah.
There you go.
Exactly.
Go get your strength.
If I may, Daniel, I know you have mentioned, aside from faith-based organization in terms of the administration supporting it, how is the administration getting involved in partnering with the actual, and I think there's a call right now, I'll frame the question afterwards.
Okay, we're going to take this call.
Hot topic.
Yeah.
That's what I like.
And I'm glad we're getting calls that somehow we're reaching folk out there. So go right ahead, caller.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name is Derek Silvers. I'm the director for the Friends to Fathers program. I was just wondering if there's any new resources or any type of any new agencies or programs that might offer employment opportunities to non-custodial fathers.
Okay. We have just started something at my organization, Church Alive Development Corporation, by providing employment in the green area. There are a lot of green jobs that our fathers can take advantage of